Hi everyone, my name is Hannah Koch. I'm 23 years old. I'm from Germany, and I used to be one of the German UN youth delegates to the General Assembly 2024 and 2025. And so far this workshop has been really inspiring. We've had a lot of interesting discussions, thinking about agenda, the YPS agenda, but also thinking about moving away from the UN context to broader implementation. What does it actually mean to have an implemented YPS agenda in Germany and beyond? I think young people should be engaged in peace and security efforts because all topics are youth topics. I think we need to move away from thinking, oh, youth should only speak on youth engagement, youth should only speak on things that are relevant for them, because everything is relevant to youth. Every sphere of life is relevant to youth, and youth are experts for their own lived reality. And if we look at peace and security, youth should be involved in that, because we won't have just and sustainable peace agreements, we won't have peaceful societies without youth and their voices being heard. YPS is highly relevant to Germany. I think often when we look at the German context, we can see that peace and security especially is something that is a bit removed from our society. But if we look at what does peace and security actually mean for our societies, how can we bridge intergenerational dialogues? How can we have collaboration between different groups? How can we have integration? How can we successfully, as one society, move forward for a better world and a better Germany for everyone? I think that's how you can see how integral youth peace and security actually is. And I think one example would be division between East and West Germany. That's a huge division. Young people feel it. There's economic disparity. All of that also falls under youth peace and security, because we won't have just and peaceful societies without youth. So a National Action Plan, short NAP, is a tool to move to implementation. So of course we have the UN resolutions that kind of give the legal layer of the YPS agenda, but then we need to implement it within our countries and our regional context. And that's where a NAP can be helpful. It doesn't have to be, but can be helpful to kind of give a blueprint to government, but also to civil society, to youth organizations, to youth-led organizations on how to move forward with that. In Germany, we have a WPS NAP, so Women, Peace and Security NAP, where there's there's just different outlines on actions to be taken. And I think if we look at creating a NAP, it's really important that this is a co-youth-led process, or at least youth-led, co-managed process. Because if we think who is actually sitting at the table to write the NAP, who's deciding who's sitting at the table, representative youth organizations, individuals, government agencies, civil society organizations. So it needs to be really a collaborative space to make that happen, but also should be consult young people in doing it, being led or co-led by young people, because if we don't have youth at the table from the very start of a NAP, the outcome of the NAP won't cater to young people's needs in Germany. Yeah. I think in Germany, oftentimes, we don't really realize that peace and security is something that youth are also part of. And if we look at, for example, rearmament in Germany, if we look at the current situation with Russia's war on Ukraine, if we look at the situation in the Middle East, we see that oftentimes it's old or middle-aged white men sitting in their suit making decisions for everyone. And I think that's really where there's also an intersection between women peace and security and youth peace and security, that these groups are inherently underrepresented and therefore their interests are not represented. And if we take out a huge part of our populations out of peace agreements, they won't be sustainable, they won't be long-lasting. and they won't lead to a better world for everyone.